G'day guys, welcome to another Blakers video. This time I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to walk you through a library that I've had the pleasure of sort of playing with for the last few weeks. It's by a new company called Performance Sampling, and it's a choir library called Oceania. I particularly like the name. Here's the patch list here, just if you can see it in my contact window. There's not a lot of patches, but don't let that fool you because this library can cover a lot of ground. You can see from looking at the patch list that there is a men's section and a women's section. The men's section has a few sort of effects, rises and shouts and stuff as well, which we may get into if we have time. But we're going to jump in today by looking at the multi that comes with the library, and it's called a Quickstart Octave Doubling Patch. Let's drag it in. It's loading up, and there it is. All right, you can see the resources are not too bad. Let's just play something straight out of the box, and let's see what happens. I like it. It's quite nice. It's very playable. Now, to achieve a lot of what I was just fiddling with there, in the past I would normally have to find some staccato patches as well as sustained patches and try and layer them together with a bit of sculpting to make it sound cohesive. This is where this library's real strength lies, and that there's a lot of fiddliness going on in the background that, quite frankly, I don't care about, but it just works miracles. And it allows you to play whatever's in your head, and then it does its best to interpret that and just spit it out. So whether you're just playing staccato, really quick kind of phrases, or you want to do something longer and mix it up, it works, and it's fantastic. So I'm really excited about that because it makes it very fun to play. Let's talk about the sound. Now, the sound, as you would have heard, is very intense. It's in your face. It's made for bold sort of thematic lines. It's not going to cover any quiet content all that well. You can try. But you can tell that it really just wants to it wants to get in your face. So keep that in mind if you're looking at maybe picking up this library. Now, each section here, I'm told, has 24 singers. So you've got 24 ladies and 24 men, which makes for a pretty sizable choir. It's been recorded in quite a nice hall, so it's a nice sound. Let's go through the mic positions. It's got two that you can fiddle with, and that's the close mics and the far mics, which can be totally unloaded if you want to, or for now we're just going to solo them. So here's the close mics. It's a nice sound with a decent stereo image, which fits in really nicely. The far mics sound like this. And that's a nice sound as well, and you can crank that up and get it sitting behind an orchestra really nicely. I'm a fan of doing that, and those mic positions are all I feel like I need, so it works really well. The other thing to do with sound that affects quite a lot is this Flattened Dynamics button. Now, it comes engaged and turned on by default, and what that does is it does what it says. It flattens the dynamics. Now, with most instruments, including voices, a lot of them, when you go higher, it usually requires more volume to push out that higher pitch. So by flattening the dynamics, they've removed that natural dynamic change so that it just makes it more smooth and consistent. So here's the lowest range. Here's the highest. It's consistent. It's very similar volume, which makes it just nice to just pick up and play. You don't have to care about what range you're playing in, whether it's going to mess up your dynamics or not. It'll just work. But turn it off, and it's quite different. That is the natural dynamic range. There's nothing going on there. That is being left in the samples, which I'm really excited about. A lot of libraries strip this and normalize their samples. Yes, it it makes things a bit more tame, but it's not an accurate representation. Now when I use this library, I'm going to be leaving it off just because I love the natural dynamics, and it helps with realism for me. So that's a really cool feature. I'm glad we can choose between both. So good. I'm going to leave that off for the rest of this video just because I love it. Now, I'm going to remove the guys. We're going to say goodbye to them for a sec, and we're just going to play with the wimp. Oh, I can't say that. That doesn't sound right. I'm going to play with this patch. That's better. Now, there are 10 syllables in this library, and you can see that they're all represented by a key switch down the bottom here, which is cool. You can control whichever syllable you want in whichever order you want by touching those key switches, and you're off. But the cool thing is I'm not going to touch them right now. I'm just going to play, but watch the key switches. It just automatically cycles through them, which is great because it means as soon as you load up a patch, you have a sound that is workable and sounds great and natural with variation. Great. But I do love that you can control it if you want to. If you really wanted to, you could just choose one syllable and just go with it and see what happens. If you really wanted to, or you can switch between two. But one of the main ways that I think is very handy to use it is to choose where you want to start the cycle of syllables for a particular phrase. Now, my keyboard only goes, I'll demonstrate that in a second, but my keyboard only goes down to this E here because I only have a 76 key keyboard. But luckily, one of the features on the interface is this key switch root part, which lets you adjust that to wherever you want to put it. And I'm going to leave it there for now because that's what works for me. All right, so let me just try and record something really quickly here. That'll do for now. Now, let's open up the MIDI. Let's have a look. Sounds pretty cool. Let's dictate where this starts so we get it playing back the same every time. And I'm going to hit the lowest key switch, and we're going to start it there. I'm going to record it just so that it's baked in. It sounds all right, but I wonder if we can make it sound better by making the syllables start at a different cycle. So I'm going to move this key switch that I recorded, which is the very bottom key switch over here. I'm just going to move it up to F. Well, to the second one, and we'll see what that sounds like. I'm particularly listening to these faster notes over here, and I'm just hearing to see maybe some syllables work better than others for those. Yeah, I like that. I think I like it better. So we're going to stick with that for now. I should just make this a bit better. Yeah, that's great. It just flows. It connects really well. It doesn't sound disjointed. It just works. So you can see that that's quite a handy way of controlling and if you really wanted to, you could go in and change key switch for every note, which is another great thing to be able to do as well. All right, another way that really affects the sound of this library is the releases. Now, the releases come, this little menu here controls the releases where it says suggested one. They come loaded on a suggested patch, which means that, well, let me explain first that there's two types of releases. There's an S release, and then there's a non-S release. Let's hear what the S release sounds like first. So you can hear every syllable now has an S release, and we can get rid of that. Which is cool and probably even more handy. You can live on the edge and go random if you want. But the ones that are interesting are these two up the top here that are great for once you've used the suggested ones to find a part that you're happy with, you can tweak it and go into manual velocity. And what that does is it lets you play on the fly and select whether you want the S or not. If you play hard, pretty much, upper dynamics, upper velocities, you get an S. If you play with lower dynamics, or lower velocities, there's no S, which is great. If you're an accomplished keyboard player, you could control that on the fly, no worries. I'm not that amazing, so for me, it works well to just go into the MIDI and we can control that, remembering that high velocities control an S and low velocities don't. So let's just experiment. Let's put an S there. Let's keep it out of those. Put it in there. Take it out, take it out. Yeah, let's just try that. I like it, works well, and you can do whatever you want in there, and it's a very handy way of varying your sound. The S releases are actually pretty cool because they can often help make the sound more cohesive when joining certain syllables together. So just keep that in mind. But very cool. There is one other way that you can even control the releases even more, and that is with the pitch wheel, the pitch bend wheel, I should say. And that is represented by this little marker down here. You can see as I move it. Now, the cool thing is if you put your pitch bend wheel all the way up, it lengthens the release, makes it longer. If you put it down, it tightens it, which is great for faster playing. I'll give you a quick example. I'm just going to play some notes repeated. That's normal. I'm going to tighten it. Can you hear how it almost brings more energy? So a lot of thought has been placed into this library, not into just the attacks of the notes and things like that, but the way the notes end is equally as important. And I love that they're focused on that just as much. Let's try and go into some of this MIDI data over here, and I might just try and do a pass. I'm going to record my pitch wheel to see if I can record some extra sort of variation in here that might help tighten up the line a little bit. I'm going to aim to try and lower the pitch wheel during shorter notes in particular. All right, pretty cool. And you can see it recorded it there. That last note, I wouldn't mind if that one had a longer release. So I'm just going to hard write that in. Big difference, and it really helps with sculpting a realistic line more easily. So big plus for that one. I love it. Now the other features on this interface, there is down the bottom here, there's a range sort of selector, which doesn't change the pitch, but it does change whereabouts on the keyboard the patch is played from. So you can have it in its normal range, or you can have it an octave above. Now this particularly comes in useful when you want to add in the men and the women to play together, because naturally the men are an octave lower. But let's insert them now. Chuck them in. Make sure they're on the same mini channel. Yep, they are. And it looks like by default they're already represented an octave higher. So if they were normal, they'd be down, and you can see the difference there between the ladies and the men. But by putting it an octave up, it just means you can play them together. Now, because these are being fed the same MIDI data, that line that I recorded earlier should just sound good with both of them automatically loaded. Both should be responding to that key switch, so they'll both have the same sounding vowels as well. So let's see what it sounds like. That's a great sound. So you can see how powerful this library is straight out of the box. You can just make it work, but you can also fiddle with some of the MIDI data to get it even tighter and even more realistic. All right. So some of the limitations of this library, obviously we talked about it earlier. It's not the best if you're looking to do some quiet, romantic kind of things. But in saying that, look, you can try, but it's not what it's made for. Overlapping notes is not a great idea either, because it can mess with the releases, and that's a big part of the library. And the sustain pedal doesn't work through this either, which is not a big deal, unless you use that sustain pedal mode to control the S releases, which is another great way of doing it as well, instead of using velocity. So this is a pretty awesome library by Performance Samples. I'm interested to see what they put out in the future. check it out. Look at the other demos. I really recommend this one. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.